The Gatemen drop a tough, brutal game, if there ever was one, 6-3 to the YD Red Sox. He's Josh Richardson. I'm Cory Miller on the Gatemen postgame show. Josh, we knew going into this one it would be a really tough game to come away with the win. The top team in the Cape, they've won 7 straight games, but the Gatemen came oh so close, came back after an early deficit, just had slipped away in the top of the ninth.
Well, that last loss before that 7-game win streak was right here to the Gatemen, so there's obviously some optimism that they could get to them. And then when they played at Red Wilson Field, it was just a 2-run game in the 8th, so it was close despite what the final score says. Tonight, it was close the whole way. The Gatemen fought back, down by a couple runs. I mean, you can't ask for a whole lot more other than just to win. But the fight that they showed in the late stages of those games, they tied it up in the 8th and just some bad luck in the 9th.
Yeah, the error in the 9th leads to 3 unearned runs crossing the plate. And we talked about pregame how the Gatemen had to be great in all facets of this one. Hitting, pitching, defense. The hitting was definitely there at times, but the pitching throughout was really strong as well.
The hitting was there, the pitching was there, the defense had a little bit left to be desired, but the pitching was great. You know, other than that beginning of the game, you know, first 3 innings was where YD scored, 3 of their runs. And other than that, flawless. Josh Butler came in relief and delivered 4 1/3 excellent innings. When you have guys that can do that and, extend out of the bullpen for more than 3 or 4 innings, it's crucial for the development of a team. Now the next step is just come away with the win.
For more on tonight's pitching performance, we'll send it to the Gatemen's pitching coach, Eric Luxus, who's with our Rayna Maggelet.
Rayna Maggelet joined alongside Wareham Gatemen pitching coach Eric Luxus. So, Coach, how do you approach developing different types of players coming from all over the country?
Well, it's tough. You get guys from all over the country, and, you try to really quickly just, kind of see what they did well in their springs, what they didn't do, well, and kind of why they're out here. You try to adapt to their needs and, try to get to know them as quickly as we can so that we can help them and send them back to school better than they showed up.
Yeah, so what are the primary goals you have set for your pitching staff this summer?
Well, we're big on throwing strikes. We're trying to pound the strike zone and throwing strikes and being able to put ourselves in pitcher counts that we avoid big innings, and that's something that we've talked to our guys a lot about, and just staying in attack mode and kind of approaching hitters a little differently than they do in the spring, with the wood bat in their hands, and staying a little bit more attack mode than kind of what they're used to in the spring, and just get accustomed to summer baseball again.
What are you going to tell your players before stepping on the mound tomorrow?
We just got to bounce back. The great thing about this game is that there's a game the next day.
Yep.
I thought we threw well tonight. I thought Butler was absolutely huge for us tonight. We expected to get a couple innings out of him, and he's almost throwing 5 innings, So it was really good to see what he's capable of by lengthening him out. So we're still kind of learning what we got, and we're learning a lot each night that guys take the mound. So hopefully continue to learn and continue to get better.
Yeah, thank you so much, Coach.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rayna. The Gatemen fall to 5-7 after tonight's loss. Are right back in action. They travel to Eldridge Park out in Orleans for a 6:30 matchup tomorrow against the Firebirds.